Hey everyone, welcome to the Marketing Companion. And we're going to be covering, a lot of topics today because I've got Andy Crestodina in the house, and he's a big topic kind of guy. Um, we just got back from my my uprising retreat. We're recording this on a Monday, and the retreat ended on Friday, and Andy was able to join us for the first time. We'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about frontier firms in the AI world, and specifically in marketing. Before we get started, I want to remind you of our great sponsor, Brevo. Here's one of the most amazing things about this company. They are a global company. They're based in Paris. They have more than 500,000 customers in 180 countries. And it includes Louis Vuitton, eBay, Michelin, these huge brands. And yet it's priced in a way that this is a wonderful, accessible CRM suite for all. You got nothing to lose because you can try it for free by going to brevo.com/marketing companion. And if you do decide to sign up, use the promo code companion to get 50% off of your first 3 months. So, Andy, we'll just start off. This is the first time you've come to the uprising, and you were able to be there for most of it. So, how'd you like it? Was it fun for you?
It lives up to the tagline, a retreat for marketing leaders. It felt very much like a retreat. It's in a gorgeous, just hidden pocket in the Smokies. The setting is, of course, charming, and just the space. It's just like the perfect environment to sort of clear your mind. You've curated such a community, and the love and the insights from the people in those rooms. It's small. How many people were there?
There,
We
30,
were
there were 30,
30,
30,
30.
33, including me and man
Mhm,
who's
mhm.
helping me. Yeah.
Fantastic size. I love that. It's a wonderful format to just be immersed with a small group for several days.
Mhm.
Really special. Weird this is not a more common thing. I think we all need to be doing this more. But it was just really unique, a totally different thing. It's really hard to explain. I
I
mean,
know
just to be
everybody says that.
yeah, it's kinda hard.
It's hard
But
to
I loved it.
explain.
No, thank you for letting me be part of it.
Yeah. Well,
And so many friendships clearly just that will like lifetime friendships were made at that time. Uh, so honored and
yeah, I think
grateful.
that's really the key is that a friend of mine said, I don't know how to describe this. It's not a meeting. It's not a mastermind. It's a bond. And it really does become a bond. I want to pick up on the word you said that it was curated, and it really
Mhm.
isn't. I mean, I'm intentional about a lot of it. I'm intentional about the format. I'm intentional about sort of the values that surround the event. I'm intentional about the quality. I'm intentional about the content. But really, there's not really curation in the people.
Hmm.
Like anybody can come. So that's one of the things that's amazing. I'll tell you a little story. The first year I had the uprising, like all these people started to come. I didn't know who they were. Never heard of them before. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, what if somebody is like an asshole? Like that's gonna ruin the whole thing because you're
Yep.
gonna be stuck with these 30 people for 3 days. And like, should I vet these people? Should I interview them? And then a friend of mine said, Mark, how do you know exactly the right people aren't going to be there? How do you know exactly the right people who are meant to be there in that moment aren't going to be there? And that truly is what has happened every time. And just the right people to create that cocktail of conversations and the content we need, to be relevant in that moment. So, well, let's go. Gosh, where do you want to start? Let's start with this
Mhm.
idea of frontier firms. A lot of the conversations around the uprising. I mean, certainly AI was woven into a lot of it. It has to
Hmm.
be.
Hmm.
I started off with some new content about how AI will be changing our customers. And that's
Hmm.
something a lot of people really aren't talking about yet. Uh, we're hearing about these ideas, and you presented some really great ideas, very very thought provoking. One of the attendees, Sarah Neely, said you were throwing out so many ideas. She gave up taking notes and just put in her notebook, get Andy's notes, get Andy's slides, and put a circle around it. So you also shared a document with me. It was a research report by Microsoft. And I always take those with a little bit of grain of salt, but
Hmm.
because certainly they have an agenda. But it was there were some interesting aspects of this report in terms of what they define as a frontier company, and
Hmm.
it got me thinking. So, were there any highlights from you in this report? I'll let you go first.
Yeah. Well, starting with what you just said about the things you discussed at the uprising,
Mhm.
how are our customers changing?
Yeah,
How are consumers changing? And then thinking also about the psychology of us in this moment as marketers. Uh, are we feeling right now disrupted, or are we feeling this is an opportunity? So thinking about the things that move us through a progression, and my theory right now is that the extent to which we improve our skills and adapt ourselves to the moment is determines the extent to which we feel disrupted or we feel excitement. This report touches on that same idea. They did a massive survey. I guess it's 31,000 workers were surveyed. And they also used some data from Microsoft 365 or whatever, like the productivity tools
yeah.
to measure like distraction and the use and switching between like how long people spend on certain tasks.
Hmm.
Very interesting. I didn't know they could do that. A
Interesting
bit
slash creepy.
a bit unsettling. But what? So here's the short version of all of the people surveyed. 31,840 or so described themselves working at firms with widespread adoption of AI, with a kind of an AI mindset, widespread adoption of agents. And those say that the people who described themselves at one of these firms also described themselves as at a thriving company. They feel like they were more able to handle their workload. They see more opportunity for meaningful work. They are more optimistic about the future. So it kind of connects in my mind as this moment when, as we sort of embrace or adopt or upskill a bit, also changes our perspective on the future. Straight and and in that, partly what this also did for me, I thought was interesting, is they injected some new kind of jargon here. Agent boss. I'm a person who's in
Mhm.
charge of agents. Or
Yeah.
digital labor.
Mhm.
These are workers. An agent is digital labor. And then the idea of itself of a frontier firm. Those are some thoughts I had just coming out of it. What about you?
Well, I thought there are a couple interesting things. First of all, to kind of build on what you were saying is about the data they collected.
Hmm.
um, Really detailed data about how many times in a day people are. They're saying an employee gets as up to 275 interruptions a day. 60% of meetings are ad hoc versus scheduled. And this was like this. It kind of shows like gets sort of goes into the creepiness part. Edits
Hmm.
in PowerPoint spike 122% in the final 10 minutes before a meeting.
It's
Um,
amazing.
yeah,
Everyone's working on their deck right before the deadline,
right
clearly.
before the yeah, right before literally like, right before it starts. Um, and if you look at, I mean, this is sort of the gray area of business that I think certainly, if we could start turning some of the stuff over to AI, that it would be it would be amazing for me. It's those distractions. It's those last minute edits and so forth that you can't really delegate to someone.
Mm.
That if Copilot. I mean, Copilot has been sort of a meh for me. A lot of people, or do you use Copilot, Or no, you're a Google Docs guy.
I do not use Copilot for
Yeah, yeah,
anything
yeah.
currently.
I mean, I've heard everything. I mean, most of the reactions kind of been meh. I do have a very good friend who I trust, who just loves it. Can't get enough of it.
Hmm.
The other thing I thought was, and this got me thinking about who is going to win in this environment. It talked about the evolution of the frontier firm. This is something I've been thinking a lot about, writing a lot about. What does it mean to be AI first? What does it mean to be a frontier firm? And so they defined it sort of in three categories. Number one, every employee has an AI assistant. So I guess
Hmm.
maybe if you're allowed to use ChatGPT, maybe you're in that category. Then number two, agents join teams as digital colleagues
Hmm.
with human direction. And I mean, there's still sort of a wide definition of agent. I think it could be a custom GPT, even. I think if it does a specific thing. And then
Hmm.
number three is human led agent operated company. Agents execute business processes and workflows. And here's
Hmm.
one of the things, and so let's get into how this impacts marketers, how this impacts agencies. One of the things that occurred to me, and I'd like your thoughts on this, is that I think small to medium sized companies are going to be better positioned to win in this world. And the reason I say that is the availability of the technology, I think, is going to be rapid, but company cultures are slow to change,
Hmm.
especially if you're big enough to have a legal department. Boom! I mean, that changes everything, right? Um, the other thing is something that we talked about at the uprising, and maybe you even mentioned this, is that we of course it makes sense that moving agents into typically human roles, or at least augmenting human productivity, that's
Hmm.
going to drive adoption because you're going to
Hmm.
be cutting FTEs. And look, I've been around long enough to know that's where people are going to head. But it's also a very unpopular notion right now to make any sort of announcement that you're cutting staff because of AI. So I think the small to medium firms
Sure.
are going to be unencumbered by this.
Hmm.
And I think that's where the rapid adoption is going to be in terms of agency size, customer size. So you
Hmm.
seem to be agreeing.
I do. I was in a meeting recently where there was like a lot of business leaders, including some executives at huge law firms,
Yeah.
and they were talking about the investments they've made.
Hmm.
And there was at the other end of the table, there's an actuarial consultant who has one employee, and he was feeling like this might have been a benefit to him, but now he's stressed out because he doesn't think he can match the investment made by these big firms. But listening to the firm, where they were spending money was really surprising to me. Like they built this law firm has a ton of AI developers working in Atlanta or somewhere. They'd hired these sort of philosopher kings to give them insights into the direction of the legal industry and the future of AI. Like, wow, all that sounds like a very long road to ROI. The
Mm,
testing you have to take, like there's series of tests. If you test to a certain level, you get one AI use case, and if you take the next test, then you get the next AI use case, like very tightly controlled.
mm,
Meanwhile, an individual consultant, just imagine how fast you could move. Imagine how many
yeah.
agents, automations, digital labor, whatever you want to call them, that
Hmm.
person could build and roll out and adopt in a day. Maybe daily, they could update their processes. Absolutely no question mark. I'm very confident that this, like the advent of digital, can be a leveling force, and that small players should have a big advantage because the number one adoption obstacle is change management and human psychology. So, not to say that we should all adopt everything immediately, that would be thoughtless and likely risky,
Yeah.
but a little firm that can just quickly upskill the people on exactly the challenges they're having that can have no silos. It's like innovation in general, like cross team collaboration. What are you working on? Okay, sounds like you need help with that. Let's build and test you know a, a helper for you
Mm,
on that task. It's working great. Make sure to share it. What's next? They should just have 10 times the innovation rate
yeah.
of a big firm, at least, I would think.
I think the other cultural hurdle is, um, there's a kind of a famous case study going around where, uh, Chevron, the, big oil company, was they bought, uh, enterprise licenses of ChatGPT, and they're trying to calculate the ROI of these licenses. Now, a license for me and you is 19.99 a month, so it's probably less than that for Chevron.
Hmm.
And yet they were spending all this time on use cases trying to find the ROI, and it's it's very similar to the advent of digital, where we didn't know. I mean, no one
No,
could have predicted what was going to happen or where it was going to go. I mean, the innovation just built on innovation, and you've just got to go because the whole world is going. So I think this other propensity that we see in larger companies to have to document the ROI. And look, I'm not against
yeah,
ROI, but I mean, it's just like just go. If you can't find $20 of ROI per employee per month, you just gotta be crazy.
yeah, that's an easy one. I think what people are doing is and this has always been true. You find a tool and you ask, how can I use this tool? Which to me has always been a bit backwards. Why don't you look at what you're doing and ask, could a tool help me with this?
Hmm.
If you start with it, if you wake up and say, how can AI help me today? That's like sort of, it's like I had a call earlier today with a woman who wants to do, SEO. And she's saying like, I put it all into this tool and she was looking for these reports and wondering how to use the tool. And we just had to stop and say, how are people looking for you? And got her thinking first about the audience. If you're trying to be productive, look at your time, look at your tasks, look at your processes,
Hmm.
and then ask, like, is there a use case for a tool here, AI or any tool? Is there a use case for a tool that would make me, that would improve my? And this is another thing, Mark. Tell me if you appreciate this. Why are we trying to be? If this obsession with efficiency is a bit irritating.
Hmm.
How about an obsession with quality? How about an obsession with performance? How about we obsess over results? I think the efficiencies come sort of naturally because the models are very fast.
Yeah.
But if you sit down and try to save yourself, unless you have a huge problem in your time management, but mostly, I look at something I'm doing and saying, how could this be a little bit better? Could I use AI to audit this thing, or could I find better insights from this data I'm looking at? Could this campaign or effort or keyword or page or report be a little bit better? How could I make this better? That's another mindset shift, I think, and uh, it's not
Yeah. Well,
efficiency isn't the goal for marketing for me.
yeah. Well, so we'll split it in two a little bit here because um, the report clearly said that efficiency and economic benefits are the number one driver of the people that they surveyed. And just from my experience in the corporate world, that's not a surprise at all, because it's relatively easy to measure.
Hmm.
You're cutting a cost or you're avoiding a cost. And when you start getting into quality and creativity, the measures may be more qualitative instead of quantitative. I think that will come. And although the research did not create a split between big companies and small companies, I would have liked to have seen that. It did highlight that the areas that are getting the most focus right now are customer service, marketing, and product development.
Hmm.
And they said that in AI investment in those three areas is going to be accelerated in the next 12 to 18 months. The frontier companies are more likely to invest in those areas. Again, my assumption is maybe smaller companies. Um, the frontier companies, 73% of them are investing in AI for marketing, 66%, customer success. I would say that's probably sales, customer service. So marketing is going to be getting a lot of attention according to this
Hmm.
report.
I can see why. It's marketing is partly data analysis. AI is very helpful. Writing, AI can be very helpful. Programming in digital, right?
Yeah,
We have development. AI is of course very helpful. It's really the intersection of a lot of different skill sets where AI has some of the biggest impact. McKinsey calls it all opportunity. It says 75% of the $12 trillion gains we're going to have in productivity are in these four categories: sales, marketing, customer service, R&D, and there's one more. And I just wonder, is that that gain, is that gain just from like HR savings of fewer marketers? That's I'm here to uh, do great work and keep my team busy. I think there's another type of maybe in corporate their goal is to just do as much as they can with as few people and just trim the head count as fast as they can. Uh,
yeah. I mean,
that
we'll
concerns
see. I think a lot of the programmatic advertising will certainly should be optimized and sort of been
me.
taken
Hmm.
over bit by AI. But the writing and creativity, at least so far, I would kind of put in the terms of like augmented instead of replaced in most cases right now. So
Hmm.
this idea of cutting also leads us to something you wanted to talk about today, and that's this idea of meaning. It's something I brought up in my
Hmm.
presentation at the uprising. So in my talk, I highlighted 8 areas. It's sort of psychological and behavioral impacts of AI. That look, we as marketers, we need to know our customers, and if our
Hmm.
customers are thinking differently and behaving differently because of AI, we need, one on one level it can be a little unsettling, but on another level, if you zoom out, this is an opportunity if we can understand that better than other people. And one of the things I talked about was this idea of meaning and purpose. If we live in a
Hmm.
world where we're resigned to the fact that AI seems to be able to do almost anything better than us, um, where do we fit? And so I kind of did a deep dive on that, and went down this rabbit hole around the psychology of meaning and the psychology of purpose. And there's this concept where they say human beings get their meaning and purpose two different ways. One is instrumental, and this would be, I think, more like me in general. And instrumental means you're doing something with your work. You're creating some value through whatever you do in this world. You're an instrument of good. You're an instrument of productivity or whatever. And
Hmm.
at the end of the day, you feel good about that. The other one is relational. So your purpose comes from connecting people, helping people, nurturing people. And as I think about this, this is like there's this like real this defined line between me and my wife. I mean, I'm much more instrumental. She is much more relational. And what the psychologists say is it's much healthier to have that come from relational, because
Hmm.
anything can happen to your work. You'll be, you're vulnerable as an instrument of productivity, as an instrument of good. And what they're projecting is we need to be aware of this to a high degree as this job loss occurs. This is going to affect psychologically a big part of our population, and they're going to have to find more meaning eventually through relationships.
That is a really important point, and people who are very concerned about AI's labor market impact sometimes bring this up. It's like, well, what are we all here for? Where do we get meaning? What's the point? It's beautifully made, Mark, and thank you for that insight. It's really important. Who we are to each other. Coming back from the uprising, it's like
Yeah,
beautifully highlighted by the event itself. Be a member. So if there's, and my goal is to be instrumental as well, and I'm a practical kind of content marketer. What is the practical application for that? Be a part of a community. Listen to the people on your teams. Be a supportive team member. Let's let's listen to each other. Let's be empathetic, and in the communities outside of business, family, and in the neighborhood. And ironically, it does come back because this is surprisingly, because this is actually highlights the the big need as in the context of AI. There was a quote in that same report. It said, "If you have a people problem, you have an AI problem. As multi-agent systems redefine the workplace, the challenge will be to integrate and manage them. Companies that already know how to enable their human workforce will succeed." So if there wasn't any relationship capital or trust or culture in your company, you may think you're racing toward down a road of AI efficiency and adoption,
mm,
but you're going to hit huge roadblocks if you didn't also have among the members of your team that relational meaning
yeah,
that people get from each other, because that is actually what's needed now more than anything. We've got all the
yeah,
technology. It's all here. It's all everyone has access to it. So what not only is it going to have value for us in each of our lives to
mhm,
get this other type of meaning, but it's also the thing that is needed among each other in the moment of adopting change, and
mhm.
you know uh, getting our companies aligned for the future.
Well, I always like to like zoom out on these issues, and again, on the surface, it can seem unsettling that there's going to be job loss, and what's the impact on purpose. But you also think about the importance of psychology moving forward. Like if you're a psychologist, if you're a counselor, I mean, oh happy day, right? Um, the, the psychology and the wellness of your employees as we go through this transition is going to be a really interesting implication, I think. Let's tie a ribbon on this, Andy. Um, One of the things I saw you talk about this at the uprising, and you also talked about this at I saw you speak at marketing profs, and you kind of went through a list of things that AI can't do. And if we sort of think about these things a little bit, it points us in the direction of where the value of humans in marketing, humans in an agency will transcend some of these issues. So why don't you share a couple of those?
Happy to. In all my conversations, there's about AI. There are many voices that say AI can do that, AI can do that, and it's just a popular point of view today. AI can do everything. Pick up a use case, someone will say AI can do that now or soon. What I find even more interesting is to stop and try to think of things right now. Really important. What can AI maybe never do? Are there things that AI can never do? Because knowing those things should make us should prepare us for the future and put this technology in context. So here's my incomplete list. I am all ears if anyone can add to it. I would love to see this list grow. Offline investigation. Finding those things that aren't yet on the internet. AI it doesn't see things that aren't on the internet, including all of the most compelling social proof in the brains and hearts of your superfans. How do you get that out of there? I mean, someone's going to say AI can do that, fine. But today I'm saying offline investigation is not a good use case for AI. Conducting new original research. AI could not have did this report we just talked about. It could help with aspects of it, but not
Sure.
truly do the report. Publish and then defend strong opinions and thought leadership.
Mhm.
You can try to get AI to take a stand, but it's not natural for that. Humans naturally do this continuously, so why even try to use AI for that? Pixel perfection. You care a lot about brand, you want it to look just so. AI is terrible for that. You want to work with an expert to get to fine tune exactly what this looks like, the spacing, the type, the color.
Mhm.
Okay, there's lots of design things AI can do. It's getting better, but I think pixel perfection, people still want to work with a pro. Being accountable.
Yeah, for sure.
You can't, let's say you use deep research to do everything McKinsey would have done for you, but do you even want to do it if there's no one
Mhm.
standing behind it? Who's going to take the blame if it goes badly? Another example from Friday, even since the uprising, I was talking to someone whose background is in field marketing, putting charismatic, this is B2C more or less, but putting charismatic people into marketplaces to putting products in people's hands.
Yeah.
How's AI going to do that? So,
Sampling and also, like anthropological research too, where you're following people around to watch their behaviors. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, that's offline stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
um, so I'm
Well,
open to any input there,
I
and
made a
and
I made a list of my own because the way I approached this was there was that famous, Jeff Bezos quote that I
right,
use a lot, where in his early days, he was interviewed by Wired magazine. And already Amazon was getting a reputation for pioneering new technology. And he was asked, well, what's the new technology? What's the latest thing you're excited about? He said, well, that's interesting. But what's more interesting to me is what's not changing, because that's how you can build a business. And if someone came to me 10 years from now, I think it would be improbable that they would want higher prices, slower delivery, and less variety in
choice. Yep.
choices in their choice. And that's how you build a business. It's not the technology that's driving it; it's these things that won't change. So I was asked to participate in this research report about how AI will choose, well, how it will change humanity. And I started thinking about, well, what's not going to change? And how do we build a business on that? So again, I'm open to feedback, just like Andy is. You send me a note. But my list, here's the things that will not change. That will still, these are still human needs that will have to be satisfied by organizations and companies. Safety, love, community, creativity, connection, compassion, health, play, faith, family, and hope. If you strip everything away and think about, what did our ancestors believe in? What was valuable to them 200 years ago or 300 years ago? Health, safety, connection, family, hope. Those things persist, and they always will. And I think you could still build a business off those things.
And you have done so beautifully, Mark, and we are all
In a
grateful.
way, in a way, in a way, yeah. Well, Andy, thanks so much for sharing your ideas, and thanks again for being part of the uprising. Just what a delight. The word I used today in my post was euphoric. I was just so happy. It was the best one we ever had, I think. And if you want to learn more about the uprising, go to my website, businessesgrow.com. Look under events. There's only one. I think I put events because maybe I had a dream of doing more events, but hey, the uprising is enough. The next one's going to be April 21 through 24th, 2026. And there'll be lots of great people there as well. Andy, thanks so much. And thanks everyone for listening today.